nombre es Aníbal Ibarra, aquí desde la Convención Nacional Demócrata. El presidente Barack Obama va a hacer su de aceptación para la reelección de su candidatura como presidente por el Partido Demócrata, aquí en Charlotte, en la Convención Nacional de los Demócratas.
I'm trying to.
These hills, to raise the safety of families, that's in that quiver. In the home of the church, in the home of a mom and a dad. And you know why God calls them arrows, our children? He calls them arrows because they are that. Arrows have points. You know, our kids, a lot of them are so well-rounded, they have no point. And they need to be sharpened. Believe me, the devil is alive and well, and he is here on earth. And fortunately, our sinful nature is simply an aid to him. So easy to be tempted. And the devil would desire to take out the enemies of God and turns them around right back at mom and dad. And that's why you deal with rebellious teenagers, and they hate the fact that they've got any chains on them, and it's just a part of the unit. That's why we've got to discipline our children to make them a blessing. You know, an undisciplined child becomes a curse. He just sits around on a street corner looking for someone that he can rip off. But in order for children to be blessing, they have to be disciplined.
Education is the key to a strong middle class and a successful future. And that's why I support President Barack Obama. Because he's made the single largest investment in higher education ever. He knows that no one should end up in an emergency room facing financial
Character. Okay, 210, 210, I don't know.
This is college, and that's like third or
elected overwhelmingly. Now, that That might not be good for the Democrats, but not following the Mitch McConnell view that your party's advantage is more important than the economic well-being of your constituents. I would have taken that. But we didn't have Mitt Romney. We had Mitt Romney, and he did the Democrats a favor, not the state. After 4 consecutive Republican elections, when Mitt Romney ran for re-election, his term was up, he was afraid to run for re-election. He doubtfully let his lieutenant governor take the fall, and the Republicans haven't won a major election and stayed right off his sins. They stayed off. Well, if we didn't get that job experience, we can't look to the past to be reassured. Let's look to the future. What will any Romney, and you know there are a lot of Romneys. There's the Romney who was going to be better on gay rights than Ted Kennedy. Now there's the Romney who checks with Vic Santoro on that issue. There was the Romney who fought climate change, and now there's the Romney who believes that it's a myth.
We think all, my generation, a lost generation.
I believe our president's message to the middle class should be, we're on your side, not you're on your own. So when you feel too drained to register one more voter, when you feel too tired to make one more phone call, or too exhausted to knock on one more door, I want you to dig just a little bit deeper. I want you to work just a little bit harder. And make sure you don't get weary. Remember, this is personal. Let's finish what we started and re-elect President Barack Obama.
The folks from North Carolina and Charlotte. They've been such wonderful hosts. There's no hospitality, white, black, Southern hospitality. I'm proud to be the mayor of the great city of Los Angeles, the city of America's hope and promise, and the entertainment capital of the world. But I have to say, when it comes to entertainment, to great stories and tall tales, the Republican convention gave Hollywood a run for their money.
Have a voice in this great democracy and live up to those first 3 words of our Constitution, we the people. I love that phrase. I really do. So much because throughout our country's history, we've expanded the meaning of that phrase to include more and more of us. And that's what it means to move forward. And that is what this election is about. And it's why we cannot sit on the sidelines. Look, I get it, right? Whether it's school, work, family, we've all got a lot on our minds. People say, we've all heard people say, I'm just too busy to think about politics. But here's the thing. You may not be thinking about politics, but politics is thinking about you. There are people out there trying to take away rights that our mothers, our grandmothers, and our great-grandmothers fought for. Rights that we fought for. Our right to vote. Our right to choose. Our right to affordable, quality education. Equal pay. Access to health care. And we, the people, cannot let that happen. We want you to know that tonight, even as this convention is coming to a close, a movement is building around our country. The other side wants to take our voices away and render us invisible. But we are not invisible. From a home in Iowa to a yogurt shop in Colorado, friends and neighbors have gathered for 5,000 watch parties. They are committed to this campaign. All of us together, we and nonprofit programs to help them survive. I grew up in New York City. I grew up with 4 siblings. My father barely made enough to get by. We moved every year, and we finally settled in a housing development for lower middle income families. We went to public schools and depended on programs for school transport and lunches, as did most of my friends. My girlfriends from high school to this day still depend on Planned Parenthood and often Medicaid for important health care services. In 2008, less than half of all eligible voters between the ages of 18 and 24 voted. Less than half. Young America, why are we only speaking with half our voice when so many issues at stake here directly affect us? I'm here to ask you to commit to vote. It's never been easier than now. You can go to commit.barackobama.com to register, find your polling location, any other information that you need. It's that easy. You know, earlier this week, Chelsea Clinton reminded us that we are the generation who feel our voices haven't been heard. So vote.
To the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Recently noted, Reagan himself would have been too moderate, too reasonable for today's GOP. We face serious challenges in our country. We must create good middle-class jobs so we can have an economy that is built to last. We must rebuild our roads and bridges and improve our public schools. And particularly important to me and my state of Florida is the challenge of saving Medicare and Social Security so we can keep our promise to our seniors. There are common sense solutions within our reach. If we only have leaders who are willing and enthusiastic to find common ground. No political party has a monopoly on that kind of leadership. But as a former lifelong Republican, it pains me to tell you that today's Republicans and their standard bearers, Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan, just aren't up to the task.
For those who served and sacrificed in Korea, Vietnam, the Gulf War, the Balkans, anywhere they've been needed. Today's servicemen and women have been called the next great generation, and they live up to that calling in everything they do. They've gone beyond the call of duty in every way one can imagine. I served in the United States Navy for 37 years. As a fighter pilot, as commander of Naval Air Forces, and as Vice Chief of the Navy. I've heard plenty of folks thank us for our service. We appreciate that gratitude. And since the day he took office, the President has demonstrated that he respects and understands the challenges for those who wear a uniform. For every branch of the service, for those in civilian clothes or the uniform, President Obama gives us a foreign policy worthy of the men and women on this stage to ensure that wherever they serve, their uniform and dedication is respected, and that their service makes a difference for America. For every veteran who comes home wounded, the President invested in the VA and expanded care to more than 500,000 returning troops who deserve that care. For every family waiting at home, anxious every time the phone rings, the President, the First Lady, and Dr. Jill Biden are engaging whole communities to support those families. For every man and woman coming back to an uncertain future, the President strives to help veterans apply their talents, expand their skills, and get good jobs. Last year, he challenged American businesses to hire 100,000 veterans and military spouses. He and the First Lady got businesses across the private sector to sign on, supported by tax credits, for hiring our veterans and wounded warriors.
Even when her husband got a pretty big promotion, she continued to educate. That's how strong her commitment is to her students. This amazing woman grades papers in the White House. Last year, I had the distinct pleasure to meet Dr. Biden. I am fortunate to have teachers like her at Miami-Dade College. She is full of warmth, compassion, and dedication. And that's how she makes a difference for students like me. A teacher like Dr. Biden can make the difference between being a statistic and being a success, between getting by and getting ahead. And that is why I am studying to work with children. When I look at Dr. Joe Biden, I see someone making the kinds of impact that I want to make. So please join me in welcoming my role model, Dr. Jill Biden.
I'm so proud to stand before you tonight, not only as the wife of our Vice President, but as a full-time teacher and a military mom. I'm here for our son Bo and for all of our troops, veterans, and military families. 4 years ago, Bo stood on this stage to introduce his father, and soon afterward, he deployed to Iraq for a year with the Delaware Army National Guard. Tonight, thanks to the leadership of President Obama and my husband Joe, the war in Iraq is over.
To hear my wife say what I've never heard her say before. She's always loved me. I want to thank you for putting my name in nomination to be Vice President of the United States. I accept. This generation of Americans has proven itself as worthy as any generation before us. Same determination, that same courage that has always defined what it means to be an American, has always defined all of you. together, we're on a mission. We're on a mission to move this nation forward from doubt and downturn to promise and prosperity.
You want to know?
They're not for preserving Medicare at all. They're for a new plan. It's called voucher care.
Not once, not one single time, they tell you that they rejected every plan put forward by us, by the bipartisan Simpson-Bowles Commission they referenced, or by any other respected group to reduce the national debt.
We are so proud of you. And yes, you do have to go to school in the morning. Joe Biden, thank you for being the very best vice president I could have ever hoped for. Madam Chairwoman, delegates, I accept your nomination for president. For us to solve challenges that have built up over decades. It will require common effort, shared responsibility, and the kind of bold, persistent experimentation that Franklin Roosevelt pursued during the only crisis worse than this one. And by the way, those of us who carry on his party's legacy should remember that not every problem can be remedied with another government program or dictate from Washington. But know this, America. Our problems can be solved. Our challenges can be met. The path we offer may be harder, but it leads to a better place. And I'm asking you to choose that future. I'm asking you to rally around a set of goals for your country. Goals in manufacturing, energy, education, national security, and the deficit. Real, achievable plans that will lead to new jobs, more opportunity, and rebuild this economy on a stronger foundation. That's what we can do in the next 4 years, and that is why I am running for a second term as President of the United States. After a decade that was defined by what we bought and borrowed, we're getting back to basics and doing what America's always done best. We are making things again. Who feared they'd never build another American car. And today they can't build them fast enough because we reinvented a dying auto industry that's back on the top of the world. I work with business leaders who are bringing jobs back to America, not because our workers make less pay, but because we make better products. Because we work harder and smarter than anyone else.
Mi nombre es Aníbal Ibarra y la Convención Nacional Demócrata en el Centro de Convenciones de Charlotte, North Carolina.
AnibalShow.com